Today, finally, I am talking to the one Hallmark actor who my wife actually will watch Hallmark movies with me, the one, the only Hottie Patati. That's what he's known for in my house, but most people know him as Kristoffer Polaha. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Eric. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. But yes, I like I say, my wife is not a Hallmark fan, but she is a Kristoffer Polaha fan. So if there's one of your movies coming on, she'll sit and she'll watch them with me.
I
So
love that. Well, tell her thank you. What's her name?
Carolyn,
Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. Thank
yes,
you
and
for
she, in
being a
fact,
fan.
she does not usually get too excited over my podcast, but when she knew I was talking to, she was at work bragging about it, and her one coworker, she showed the picture. She's like, "I know that guy," so which we'll get into. Um,
Good, good. Love
it's
that.
like just jumping into that, a lot of Hallmark actors, once they sort of get in the universe, that's sort of what they do. Our Hallmark movies, we love it for them, but you seem to be like one of the very few who have all your Hallmark movies you make, but you're pretty active above and beyond just your Hallmark, movies and all that. So
Yeah,
how do you like, and you've got directing now under your belt, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, how do you figure out your balance to bring all that work together? The different, the things that people always say they love about Hallmark movies is they're the whatever the 3 weeks and out kind of thing, or 2 weeks and out, whatever it is, and your other movies and your other things, as well as life. Like, how do you find that balance?
It's a great question, Eric. I hold four people responsible for my diverse career, and their names are Julianne, Caleb, Micah, and Jude. I'm the head of a household, and my wife and I are raising these boys. And my primary function, outside of husbandry and fatherhood, is provision. I'm the only breadwinner in the family, and so I got to work. So the Hallmark um, is amazing because it allows me, like you said, 3 weeks in, out. It used to be before COVID, I could fly home on the weekends, and I would be able to even get my weekends, and fly back. But with the COVID thing, it all changed around 2020, and now we've just gotten used to the fact that when I leave, I'm gone for 3 weeks, and I come home, unless there's something to go home for on the weekends. Because I'm getting older and traveling is weird. I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird how it takes an effect on your body in a way that it didn't 10 years ago. It just didn't. And now I'm like, I'm tired today. I need to rest. But the other work, I love, I really love telling stories. And I really love, um, I have been so blessed is the only word that I can use, because since I started doing the Hallmark, you know, movies, I did Get Shorty on MGM Plus. I did Condor on Encore. I did the Wonder Woman 1984, Jurassic World. Right now, I'm in Winnipeg. Here I am in beautiful, cold Winnipeg, filming a show called American Hostage, again for MGM Plus and Sony. And it gives me I mean, I'm an actor, and when I trained back at NYU, the stuff that got me noticed and got my agent and my manager to sign me was I was a part of a theater company doing all Eugene O'Neill plays. And so I was doing the entire canon of Eugene O'Neill, from the Sea plays and his one act plays all the way to Long Day's Journey into Night. So I was steeped in Ibsen and Chekhov and Shakespeare and O'Neill. And um, I have, deep my roots for storytelling are deep and rich, and I want to tell a whole broad spectrum of stories, and sometimes that involves stuff that you just wouldn't see on the Hallmark Channel. So I think it's a combination of needing to work, uh, of wanting to work, and then of the kind of stories that I want to tell. For example, the movie that you just mentioned, my directorial debut on Mimics, it's a weird, I made a weird movie, Eric. I made a really weird movie, and people are going to see it who, if they only know me from Hallmark and only like my Hallmark stuff, they're going to be like, all right, well, we're not a fan of that. But if you've never seen my Hallmark stuff, or if you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not really into Hallmark, but I dig, you're gonna be like, wow, that was very different. So I think if you were to talk to all the Hallmark actors, I don't think I stand alone in that. I think that's why I use the word blessed, because I've just been blessed to have other opportunities. I think if you were to talk to all of the actors on the network, their interests, they're surprising how broad and the spectrum runs for those people. Like I think they're all, pretty hungry to tell as many stories and as widely varied as they can. I think there are a few who are like super content. They got their two a year, three a year, and they're like, parked, I'm good.
Yeah.
But if you talk to
Well, like I
people,
say, when you run through your IMDb, it's other thing, other thing, Hallmark, other thing, Hallmark. And
yeah, I mean,
not
I'm
not a lot
trying.
not a lot of
It's
others are that way. So
Well, it's a concerted effort. I mean, I'm definitely trying to keep it balanced. And again, like I love Hallmark gives me the freedom to be able to say no to certain things and to balance, like where I'm able to kind of, Hallmark has 100% responsibility for my being able to direct a movie in the time that I directed it in. We shot 15 days, which is what it takes to shoot a Hallmark film. And I learned that. It was almost like Hallmark was my grad school, and I learned how to put a movie together in 15 days. And I was watching it specifically from those Mystery 101s that you love so much, because those were big movies. And we were hammering out big movies with big set piece, scenes, explosions, murders, the whole thing. And we were doing it in 15 days. And so I was sitting there on set watching, being like, well, and I know what the budgets are on those things. And I'm like, if it can be done here, then it can certainly be done in the independent world. And why don't I, you know, and also I knew that my audience was going to follow me from Hallmark to Mimics. And so I kind of, I threw in a love story that I think that audience is really going to love. So there's still even in this weird
is it a
little
puppet love story?
There he is. Fergus. It's not although I've thought of mimics too, and I'm not kidding, Eric. I'm like, what if? What if the puppet and Chloe Feynman is my dream cast for Mimics too. She'll be the impersonator, and Fergus will, and maybe they'll fall in love.
Love it. Well, one of the things that I've done when I first started doing the Hallmark thing about 5 years ago, I did a ranker where I ranked all the Hallmark actors, and it's art, so obviously very, very subjective.
Right.
But you were my number one actor then. I just did another one 5 years later, and there was a lot of moving around with all of them, but you still are the number one actor. And I think for me, the reason is we know what Hallmark is, right? It's wonderful. It's got this modest budget. It's got the genre. It's got the Hallmark guardrails. But somehow you're able to bring and elevate your characters. So what is it within these confines that you think allows you to do so much more exploration, maybe than just in general?
Wow, that's very generous of you, Eric. Thank you for saying that. Um, I think, I mean, there's a really interesting story I've told before, but it warrants repeating. The very first job I did for Hallmark was a movie called Dater's Handbook. And it was widely known. It was Meghan
Which
Markle.
I will say, 10 when this airs, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary on
Yeah,
January 30th. So,
yeah, exactly.
kaboom.
There you go. So it's truly a full circle moment here. And I remember meeting with the costume designer, who was lovely. She's amazing, and she was very professional. And I mean, this isn't disparaging against her at all, but in our very first like 3 minutes of me walking into the dressing room and for her to design my character's wardrobe and the character basically, which I care a lot about. I see characters in terms of shape and color. So you'll think of Travis Burke from Mystery 101, and you'll notice the linear, very severe lines. He was very lean, so I lost a lot of weight to play those roles. And I wanted the high collar that frames the face, and I wanted the motorcycle jacket, which I fought for. And the network never let leather jackets on, and I basically won the fight. And then all of a sudden, all the other mystery actors got leather jackets, and I was like, "Hey, you're stealing my look, guys!" But they thanked me. They literally
Yeah,
put it
Brennan
up.
Elliott has to
He
thank
was
you for
like,
sure.
"Thank you, dude." He's like, I like the green light." And I was like, "Hey, man, whatever it takes." But with she apologized to me. She's like, "I'm so sorry. We're making a Hallmark movie." And I stopped her in her tracks and I said, "Listen, you can't apologize, especially to an actor coming in for a fitting. based on the ranking or the nature of the production, and you can't make it diminutive. Because I said I'm acting as if this is a Martin Scorsese film. I said, for one, he could see this and he might want to cast me based on it. So, but it's my face, it's my name. I'm putting my work out there. And if this is the only work I ever leave behind, I want it to be as excellent and as good a representation as I'm capable of an actor. So I'm going to give you the same amount of effort on a $10 budget or a student film that I'm going to give Steven Spielberg on his movies. There's never a gauge in my mind where I'm like, well, this is a Spielberg movie. I'm going to be better versus this is a student film, or this is a Hallmark film, or this is a CBS or a CW show, whatever the network. I'm going to treat everything like it is my one and only shot to show off and be the best that I can be. And so with Hallmark, I was given a very unique opportunity as an actor to know two things. To know that the audience expected something the same every time, and then to use that and play with, like, so knowing that I was expected to be the same every time, how do I play with that and give them something different? So there was a challenge met in the nature of what a Hallmark film is, because when you read the scripts, you basically can show up and be like, oh, this is me just being charming and likable and romantic and overwhelmingly kind. I can play those qualities, I can be those things. But as an actor, I was like, well, how do I take this and how do I give the audience what they want and what they expect, but how do I slide in another character? And so every single movie, you can walk me down all 20 and I'll tell you what I was playing behind the character that I was playing.
Double
So,
holiday.
Double Holiday. Oh my gosh, you just hammered me with one. Um, who was I playing in Double Holiday? Um, Okay, you just stumped me on the first one because Carly,
That's why I couldn't figure out who it could be. That's why.
yeah, Carly she was so dynamic and she was so present that I was able genuinely just to play in relationship to Carly. So that was a unique set of chemistry and set of, like, I wasn't channeling, with like Hearts of Christmas, I was channeling George Clooney because I was like, well, this is Up in the Air. Then we're doing a remake of Up in the Air, so let me have fun with him and let me channel that guy. With I guess with Rocky Mountain Christmas, I was just thinking of like a Jake Gyllenhaal. I was thinking of Ryan Gosling. I was thinking of a young Hollywood, like who would that guy be? And so I was trying to channel those guys with Mystery 101. I went to sleep every single night. And this is going to sound like I have a neurodivergence or something, which I very well might have, but like every single night I went to bed watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Great
So
movie.
so Mystery 101 is very heavily influenced by Clint Eastwood and by that character specifically, Sergio Leone. So all of the Mystery 101s, and whenever I would go and film a new one, I'd take my DVD and I'd plug it into the hotel. I mean, literally, like I had a DVD player, and I would just go to sleep to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I think that's why Travis had such a strong spine, because he was so specifically rooted in Clint Eastwood. Jimmy Stewart for Small Town Christmas. Or did I just say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I literally, when I got that job, I was like, I'm going to imitate Jimmy Stewart. And my agent was like, and I was like, no, 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 I'm serious. I'm going to make him sound like, and the only way I want to do it is if they let me do that. And they were like, okay, fine. And it got to the point where like each character there's a subtle shift. There's a slightly different vibration behind each character, to the point where at one point I wanted to do one with an Irish accent. And Randy Pope was like, dude, that's the bridge too far. Just you can't all of a sudden be Irish. And I was like, but maybe one day I'll show up with an Irish accent in one of these. So it's fun. It's a safe place to play. I mean, Hallmark has been, if you want to have a conversation about acting, it was a lot like, I remember North Shore was my first big gig, and I was so nervous to do it right. And I wanted to perform in a way that was correct. And who knows what that even is. And then that show got canceled, and I didn't work for a while. And I got another show called Valentine. And it was for the CW, but it was the MRC, and they rented Sunday nights from the CW. And I was like, who's watching this thing? And basically, because I didn't care, I gave myself the freedom to just play, and I had the greatest time. And my acting was like off the charts better than it was for North Shore, because I wasn't I wasn't putting pressure on myself to get it right. I was just playing. And it literally led to Bays on Life Unexpected. That job is what got me the job for Life Unexpected, because they saw just how free I was as Danny Valentine, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's perfect for Bays," and that's where Life Unexpected came from. And so, in the same way, as an actor, the freedom that I found on a Hallmark set and the confidence, and um, I think those movies have made me an infinitely better actor. Quite frankly, I think I've used it as an opportunity to just, like a guy getting into the gym, just working it out.
Love that. Love that. So I don't know if you've noticed, but the world's a little crazy right now.
You
And
think?
as fans, we're really
Yeah.
appreciating and needing Hallmark more than ever for that little escapism, for the 2 hours and everything like that. Now, you're on the other side, obviously. So as the actor, do you feel that like, hey, I'm helping these people in this crazy world and giving them the comfort? Like, there's comfort in knowing that it's all going to turn out right. There's comfort in, like you're saying, knowing this is sort of the what the movies are, but playing them a little differently. But at the end of the day, we're escaping for 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah. I call it holistic television. I mean, or holistic entertainment. It's medicine, and it really is. These movies in particular, Hallmark in particular, um, they show us a world that is safe, where everything is going to work out, where people want to see each other thrive and survive, and where love and communication are at the cornerstones and the center stone of all of it. Like it's all about communicating and love and falling in love. Um, and I think in a world where we are so divided, specifically as a country, I'm in Canada right now, and looking back down towards my country and talking to Canadians and stuff, and no country's perfect, and I love America. So don't get me wrong. And this isn't going to turn political at all, because it's that's not who I am as an entertainer. But I'm looking down and seeing what's going on, and you can even feel it on sets. Like when you're filming this summer, I was filming A Grand Ole Opry Christmas. You can feel the tension and the divides, and you can feel the fundamental philosophical differences, that are plaguing our country right now. And now more than ever, Hallmark's cornerstone was communication. We're going to make sure that children write their mothers a card once a year on Mother's Day. We're going to make sure that these sons write their fathers a card on Father's Day. We're going to let lovers know that they love each other on Valentine's Day. We're going to create these days where people are going to, yeah, they're going to spend money and buy a card and some chocolate and flowers, maybe. We're going to stimulate the economy, but by doing so, we're going to make sure that people stay in touch. And I just had a conversation with a really dear friend of mine, and we were having a misunderstanding. We had fallen out of communication, and I hadn't really dropped in and checked in with her since like September. And there was something left on the table that was unspoken. And it's wild what happens when you just take a minute to drop in with another person and really communicate and say, this is my heart, this is what I was thinking. And then they get to share their heart and what they were thinking. And that creates a bond, and that's where friendship and that's where relationship is. And right now, I think what we're experiencing is a lot of divided relationships, where people are afraid to speak their mind. People are afraid to disagree. People are afraid to, um, because what's happening right now is, I mean, it's shocking and it's untenable. And I think we're having a real hard time, just wrapping our heads around reality. So being able to disappear into 2 hours of television, it's always been the balm. It's always been the salve. I mean, in World War II, that's when Hollywood made some of its best movies, because they were able to let people escape from reality. And now the question is, are we doing a good enough job on the network to educate people on how to behave in real life? And that's what those movies did in the 40s. And that's why I think we love them so much. They were very pro-American. They were very sort of like pro-ideological. There was, uh, in a weird way, it was propaganda, but for good. It was saying like, this is how we should behave. This is how we should interact. This is what America looks like. This is what the American dream is. And I think if Hallmark movies, um, I mean, that would be interesting to see if they're having that kind of effect on people. If people are leveling up, if they're speaking to each other kinder, if they're willing to jump in and communicate. I don't know. I'd be interested to learn that. I do know that the Hallmark community is very, very, very um, enthusiastic, and I know that there have been sort of real life friendships that have started online because fans were they all loved an actor, or they all loved a show, and then they became friends in real life. And I know that there are things like that that are actually happening. Um, so I have hope. I mean, I think that, like you said, I think but it's good to put good stuff in the world also versus, you know, violence or sexual stuff that's depravity. There's as entertainers we have a choice, and I think that's kind of that choice speaks volume. What you decide to put your face and name to should speak a lot about your character. And so again, I commend all of the actors on Hallmark. Um, and GAC. There's a couple of networks that are really trying to push, um, you know, positivity and communication and love. And I don't know much about GAC other than I know that they're making similar movies to Hallmark. But um, even like there's a couple other networks that tend to they do the Christmas thing, but then they have really dark programming for the rest of the year. Like you're like you're like the wife killing the
Yeah,
husband, and you're
Lifetime
like,
or whatever.
yeah,
All right.
you're like, wait a minute.
Well, before we really get into our questions about the movies per se, I just want to give you one moment to be a proud papa, and your son Caleb is doing quite well, huh? With the singing.
Yeah, what a hard business. I thought acting was a hard business to crack. Music is the wildest business. So if you're watching this and you want to explore Caleb Polaha's music, just look him up on Spotify or Apple, anywhere music
It's
is played.
crazy how much he looks like you, by the way.
It is wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a video that my son Micah made, and at one point I'm like, "Is that me or Caleb?" And I'm like, "Oh no, that's
There was a
Caleb."
picture where I was like, "Why are you in like on this?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and he's really wildly talented, and he's trying to figure out how to break into the music industry, and he is doing it. Like we Hallmark Channel this year on during the Christmas season played one of his songs a Christmas song that he wrote, and a friend of mine, Jensen Ackles, texted me and was like, "Dude, I'm listening to Caleb on the radio right now." I was like, "I know, isn't that cool?" So that was something Hallmark did for Caleb that was just really overwhelming this past Christmas season. And then yeah, he's out there, man. He's plugging away. He's doing his thing.
well, let's get into Hallmark, the actual movies now. And as I
Okay.
mentioned before, this is going to air on the 10-year anniversary of Dater's Handbook.
Okay.
And fans had no idea when they were watching that movie that they were actually watching soon to be royalty. So for you, like, did you have any idea that you were going to go on and become the king of Hallmark?
No, no. That's very funny. Um, no, I had no idea. And I still, I wonder, like, does at one point does somebody accept that title and just be known as the king? Does somebody say, "Yeah, I'm the king of Hallmark"? Like you got king
I
of
the
rock and
knight
roll
you.
was, yeah, Elvis. King of pop was Michael Jackson. I mean, at some point somebody should just claim it. But it's so funny. Jennifer Hudson, when I was on her show, she was like, "You are the king of Hallmark," and I was so embarrassed by it. I was like, ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That means you could be dethroned, right? Like that means,
No, I think
you know,
king is like, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
Well, there's overthrow. Yeah, I guess you can overthrow.
you
But
can have
just like,
somebody.
yeah, did you like know this was 10 years you're going to be cranking out those movies kind of thing? Or like, you're like, hey, this is good. This is good stuff. I like it.
Well, I remember being on the set of Jurassic World, right? They were making the sixth installment of that movie. and I was about to go make the seventh. After that wrapped, I was going to go make, I went and made the seventh and the last installment of Mystery 101. And I was sitting around, we were all out on this patio, and so it was Bryce Dallas Howard and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum, and everybody was out there sitting on this patio, and everyone was kind of having a conversation. And I said, yeah, I'm about to go make my seventh movie of this mystery cycle. And they were like, what? And I said, yeah, it's my set. We're going to do the seventh installment of Mystery 101. They said, you've made six so far? And I said, yeah. And they're like 2 hour movies. I was like, yeah. They're like, that's amazing. They're like, what? So what is this? And I always, like, when I talk to actors, I always compare it to buying beachfront property in Venice in like the 90s when it was pretty dingy and no one wanted to live in Venice. But I'm like, you've got beachfront property in the middle of Los Angeles, California. Why wouldn't you
Hey, that's when
want
I
to?
lived there.
Yeah, I mean, and not a lot of people,
Right.
were rushing in, but now probably the same place you live. I mean, now the homes are worth, millions and millions, and it's all very different community. And I think Hallmark, I looked at it like this is an opportunity to be on television, to be in front of an audience. And the thing with Megan was unique because in that year we made the movie. It aired on, January 30th or whatever for the Hallmark for Valentine's Day, I guess. Um, and then she'd met Harry, and by October it was announced. So within that year, that movie went from being just on Hallmark to like being shot around the Commonwealth because it was the last thing that she made. And so something that was intended only for the Hallmark audience was broadcast globally. I mean, it was really wild to kind of ride on the coattails of that excitement. Um, and I don't know if that helped, prepare me or propel me, into doing this for as long as I did. But I don't know. I took every job. I still don't know if I'm going to get hired again. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll get a Christmas movie this year, maybe not. I don't know. I've never had a contract with Hallmark. I've never had a guarantee. It's always just been a call that comes in, and they say, "Hey, we've got a movie for you," and I'll read the script, and I'm like, "Great!" Like when I got Biltmore Christmas, I read it, and I was like, "Done. I'm in. This is going to be amazing." And that was right after I did Winning Team, which was just this random soccer movie that was kind of, they happened to just throw me a bone. And then as I was wrapping that movie, I got the call to go, and I knew I was going to have a couple weeks off for Christmas and then go do Biltmore Christmas. Um, which, while I was filming that, I got the call to do The Shift, and that was an offer that came in. So I went from wrapping on a Friday to going to a costume fitting on Saturday in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama for The Shift. So none of that was planned. It all just happened to be kind of like clunk, clunk, clunk.
All right. Love it. So I got a chance to watch Missing the Boat.
Hmm.
And I have to say, well, you've had like your moments where you're funny, but I have not seen you like literally. This is a full out comedy where in Hallmark, I'll usually like smile or smirk and enjoy a movie, but I was laughing out loud throughout this movie. It is hilarious, and it's
That's
just not something we've really seen from you in your canon of Hallmark movies. So like when you got that, you're just you're talking about getting a script where you're like, oh boy, this is something a little different here.
Eric. I have to say, I was so nervous as you started talking because I was like, I haven't seen it yet. So I
Oh,
haven't seen Missing the Boat, so
loved
I don't know
it,
how it
loved it.
turned out. And I was like, oh no, did we miss the mark? Did we miss the mark
Did you
on
miss
Missing
the
the Boat?
boat?
No, I'm happy to hear you say that. McLean Nelson gets all the credit for this. He is the guy who has directed and written two-thirds of the Hall Out the Hallmark, Hall Out the Holidays,
All right,
Hall Out the Holly. Sorry, the Hall Out the
right.
Hall Out the Hall.
Howl at the Holly.
Yeah. And so he wrote and directed that. He did the second one, and then he did the Halloween one. And I think he's always been trying to push the envelope as to how far he can go with the comedy. And for whatever reason, they gave him carte blanche on this one. They were like, do whatever you want. And I think in the edit, there were even some beats that he lost that he was, you know, I think he wanted to take it even further. Um, but I think Hallmark was like, we're gonna give you this, but just pull back on that. Or I'm interested to see it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited to see how it turned out. Yeah, McLean he's wonderful. He came out of Utah and a lot of improv, so he's got this really quick, sharp mind, and his writing just possesses that. So when you read the script, I mean, I could hear it. And To be honest with you, he knew that I was going to play that part. Um, it was a film that was greenlit really quickly and with me in mind to play Parker. And so he knew that I was going to be the actor and he voiced it. So he kind of wrote it for me. So that's another example of a movie that I didn't have to channel. I was able to just kind of go in and play the character from my own well of like, all right, what would I? And yeah, you're right. You don't see me in a lot of comedies. And I feel like we were trying to really, I don't know. We'll see how it works. You
Yeah.
liked it. That's good.
So it's funny, you're talking about the script that he wrote, this, that, and the other. And I think part of the reason why I liked the movie so much, and I know that there's a script, and it gets, I guess, to you and Amelia is like your acting. It literally seemed like you were just improving the whole. Like, here you go, you're in here, just improv and have fun. It didn't
Yeah.
seem like I don't know how to really say it. Like, it doesn't seem like you're acting. You just seem like you guys were just on this crazy adventure in real life kind of thing, and that's kind of what we want. And led to like this really effortless chemistry between the two of you guys, and just it flowed, and it just didn't feel like a script. It just was the craziness of what the movie is.
That's great. Well, that's a compliment both to Amelia and I, so thank you, and then to McLean because he wrote it. That was all on the page. That was all him. It was pretty
Like,
fun.
I just
And I think, yeah, I
it
mean, I
doesn't
think
seem
when you can riff and when you let go, I think that's what happens. What you're seeing is what happens when actors trust each other and when they trust their director. When the director has a really clear vision of what they want and are able to communicate that well to their cast and the cast trusts that. I think that's the result of that sort of mixology on a set.
so. I don't know if like, because you obviously were with her back in 2016 as well.
Yeah.
Um, Now, was it like when you got back together, was it just like, oh, hey, continuation? Or did both of you guys have like just grown? And was it like, wow, look how far we come? And it was like different, or was it like very comfortable, same?
It's funny. It's like same but different. Like it was Amelia and we had worked with each other before and we really liked working with each other. But again, my second movie, my first Christmas movie, and I was very much that was my period of life where I would go home on the weekends. And so I was only working with her. So we didn't hang out. We didn't like really I think there was one I think I stayed one weekend and we ended up I think we hung out, played the piano in the lobby of the Sutton Place and so we had a good working relationship and I really liked her because she's a very decent human being. She's from Denmark.
Right.
And so she's got this kind of, and her father was an ambassador for the king of Denmark. And so it was weird because at that point Megan had met Harry and then Amelia's father worked for royalty and I was like, wait, what is happening on Crown Media? Like, why is Crown Media tapped into the royal families all over the world? Is there some sort of like, you know, is this a society that I'm now a part of? But it was, so we had a lot of fun working together the first round. But funny enough, the 10 years went by and she doesn't do a lot of the conventions and she doesn't do a lot. So I hadn't seen her. We ran into each other randomly. My wife and kids and I were in Palm Springs and she and her husband she had a baby. So she had two babies in between the time that I worked with her and so she'd become a mother. So she'd changed a great deal and we didn't have a lot of always kind of you keep in touch with everybody on social media these days and so that's kind of different. But as far as like, yeah, no, it was like meeting. She was a totally different actor, I think, and I think that experience, time, but motherhood. I think a lot of stuff plays into what changes a performer for the better. And I certainly had found my rhythm. Um, and what that means is it's like the difference between a young football player and a seasoned football player. You just know what you don't know what you don't know until you learn it. And 10 years making these things and 10 years being on set, 26 in my life as an actor, you just pick up a lot of tricks along the way and you go, oh, I know how to shorten the day. I know how to do this. I know how to hit this beat. I know how to just drop in, learn lines even. I mean, I can look at a script once and have it memorized. I mean, it's like it just becomes a very different animal the more you do it. And so I think we were able to fall into a quick rhythm of familiarity and kinship. And again, you know, working with somebody who we're both very happily married, and that creates a really safe space to play and build chemistry. You know what I mean? Because like you can trust that other person, and I think that's something that Amelia and I afford each other, which is good.
Yeah, like I say, it's was noticeably just the effortless chemistry between the two of how you just flowed together, and it was great.
It's cool. It's
So
good.
I do have to ask though, you have a great scene in there where you're riding the donkey with the hot dog. Now, how, first of all, do they actually like like, is that like legit? Like they like hot dogs and
You
will
know that
follow it?
you're the second person that thought it was a hot dog. It's a carrot.
Oh, it
It
looks like
looks
a
like a
hot
hot
dog.
dog, but it's a carrot. Um,
Oh,
no, donkeys don't. They don't follow carrots. I'm not sure. I think the carrot and the whip is the old adage, right? Like you gotta,
all right.
how do you inspire somebody with a carrot or a whip? But the donkeys were the most stubborn animals I've ever had to work with, let alone ride. That thing did not want to move. I'm surprised. At one point, Amelia's donkey bolted with her on the back. I mean, took off. And I was worried that she was going to get bucked, but we were able to rein it in pretty quickly. And then mine just sat there and was like, "Nope, we're not doing anything." And I was like, "Come on, man, move! Move. I got a scene to do." We had drones going, we had wind blowing, we were in a quarry. Um, yeah, filmmaking. It's funny. We were in a place there wasn't even a waterfall. Can you tell that that was water? That waterfall was fake?
No, I was watching on my, like when you get the screener, you have to watch it on your computer. So
Yeah.
maybe if I saw it like on the full screen,
Okay.
but no,
Yeah, I mean, we were just in a dry quarry, so you're looking at a rock wall, but then they
right.
uh, put water over it. So I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. But yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. It was Bulgaria. We shot in Bulgaria, and then we took the entire crew to Sicily. We shot in a little town, two towns, Palermo and Ortigia, which is like Syracuse in the sort of on the northwest side of Sicily, and then on that southern eastern corner. And then we went to Greece and shot in Thessaloniki, which was kind of amazing. Like it was, and that's the thing about these Hallmark movies. I've been able to go all over the world. I've gone to countries I never would have dreamed of going to on my own dime to make movies for you guys. And it's just been the gift of a lifetime. I mean, it really is so special.
Love it. So the other fun scene, well, there's like I said, a lot of fun scenes in there. But when you get on your, I assume it's a Vespa, but the goggles and the helmet, like, I mean, not only is it look funny, but the way the actual scene in your acting is just hilarious. But I have to ask, did you actually sort of slyly keep that helmet and goggles, and that's the look you want to, just go for as you're going around town?
Daily. I'm pulling up, I'm not looking at you right now because I'm pulling up here this, which I think you can see. That's Amelia in
Yeah.
her helmet and goggles, which is kind of amazing. And then there was us, yeah, in this sort of in our little in our getup,
Right.
which is
Like,
kind of funny.
yeah, and the
We,
reverse backpack too, on top of it all.
yeah, that was I needed that so she could grab a hold of
Right,
me.
right.
So I put that in front of me so she could grab on. And then yeah, no, I never thought twice about keeping the helmet or the goggles.
It
And
was
the
such a
Vespa
look, though.
itself, the
Forget the
Vespa,
leather jacket. That's what we
yeah,
need to see
that's the
Travis
look.
wearing.
The first time I turned the Vespa on, I went vroom, and I hit my gas, and the thing went up, and like Amelia literally stood up. Thank God she didn't fall off, and I stood up and held on to it. But like it went right out from underneath both of us. I was like, okay, hold on, let's figure out how to ride this thing.
But I'll say, going back to the donkey, you like got on no problem. Like, I don't know if you're a horseback rider or something like that, but like there's no like awkwardness. You just boom right there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
impressive.
Small animal, long legs.
Well, while we're talking wardrobe, so you've been all over time, right? What outfit do you think is the most Polaha? Is it going to be your grand old Christmas, or excuse me, your grand old Opry Christmas flashback, so that
Mm-mm,
90s,
no.
Biltmore Christmas, your suave and debonair, Or you mentioned it before, that Wonder Woman 84 80s with that belt and
Oh my
your
God.
infinity scarf, the whole work there.
No, I'm going to say none of the above.
Y-
Do you remember Dickens of a Holiday?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay, so this white shorts. I was wearing white shorts
yeah.
and a is this are people watching this or are they just
Not, it's not
listening?
live right now.
Oh,
It
but I'm
it will
saying
be. Yeah, yeah.
will they
It'll be
hang
YouTube.
on one second. I'm gonna give just give me 1 second. Um, so the funniest thing about that show is that and then the funniest thing about me as a person, I guess, is that literally my outfit for for Dickens of a Holiday is like my personal. It's literally here with me in Canada. I do yoga in these shorts, and then I got this shirt, and so literally like that outfit for that character, I was like, I could do better. I think like let's just can I wear this? And they're like, great, yeah, wear that.
But so it was yours, or you kept it?
No, it was mine. I wore
Okay.
all my clothes for that guy because I was like, he should be an actor
Right.
from LA. And I mean, I just had the clothes that fit the part. So that whole outfit, that whole character was my stuff.
That now I don't know if it really is underrated, but I think it's underrated. That movie with you and Brooke was fantastic. It was some good. Once again, the acting chops just they're there, Chris.
Thank you. I think it is underrated, and I think that it might be. I've got a theory. I haven't talked to anybody at Hallmark about it, but I feel like it was a licensed movie. And I feel like in order to rerun that, they would have to pay whoever owns the license, and so it gets less airtime because Crown
All
Media
right.
doesn't own it. And it's one of those movies that I am I'm extremely proud of that one. I think it's our best. You know, Dick. A Biltmore Christmas is
Right.
its own thing. I mean, it's its own thing. It's a very special movie. Um, and I'm proud of all my movies, but Dickens of a Holiday, when I watched that, you know, the work that Brooke did, the work that I did in that, um, it's a pretty cool movie. And the response that I've gotten from people where they're like, man, the minute you do that thing on stage, my hair stands up on my face. Like it's a cool, I was proud of it. Like I think it is really underrated.
Would you get to do your, when you're talking about your background of all that stage stuff, you sort of get to flex
Yeah,
that right
yeah,
in your
yeah,
character. So that had to be
yeah.
fun.
That's where that came out. Yep, exactly.
So one of the things with missing the boat is it's kind of, that planes, trains, automobiles thing of all the mishaps going across trying to get to your destination and stuff like that. Have you in real life ever had one of those vacations where just nothing went right?
Everything goes wrong. So you'll appreciate this story. My wife and I got married June 7th, 2003, and we kind of had a weird honeymoon that just because we were super poor at the time, and we just kind of did this weird little drive around her home state of Florida and tried to make the best of it. But had an opportunity to go to South Africa in August. So a few months later, we kind of took a second honeymoon and went to South Africa. And it was beautiful. We got to ride elephants and we got to go have this, like in French Hook, this beautiful sort of, you know, winery tours and we got a white Mercedes Benz to drive around in. And here I am, a brand new husband, you know, the man trying to be the guy, and I'm driving, and I backed the Mercedes straight into a ditch. I mean, the car is like literally facing up towards the heavens, and we had to get out, and they had to pull and thankfully it was a tractor. They just grabbed a rope, and this tractor pulled our car back on, so we'd have to wait for a tow truck or anything like that. But I was so embarrassed because I was like, oh gosh, she's gonna think her husband's an idiot, which I might be. But that was kind of my biggest international guffaw, driving a car into a ditch. Um, yeah, no, I've got some cool stories about traveling. I did a thing called Semester at Sea in college, and I went around the world on a boat. And one of the things that I was really proud of was I was able to get from, you know, Kyoto, Japan to this little tiny island to see a puppet there was a a puppet
Puppet. Yeah, I was about to say.
a puppet show. And it was this wild, it wasn't kabuki, but it was this very specific ancient form of puppetry that they did only on this one island. And I got there by drawing pictures and, illustrating where I wanted to go. And no one spoke English and I didn't speak Japanese. And I was able to get there, buy tickets, see the show, and then get back to Kyoto. So I'm the opposite of missing the boat. I'm the guy that if you were to travel with, I could get you where you got to go. Like
Oh, I like that
yeah,
confidence.
yeah.
So one of the last things I really liked about Missing the Boat is, and I guess this is, a testament to McLean, but it treats us like adults at the end. Like it's fun and it's silly, but like there's the moment when you talk about when you first were over there in Italy was your 10-year anniversary, and your wife decided to had the moment and decided to leave you, and that's like a real thing there, where Hallmark maybe didn't always, your ex would have been dead, right? Yeah, there's so many young widows and widows in Hallmark history, right? But for
Yeah.
there, I really liked like just the fact they, it just led to the character and really and built it up. But so for you, what is there something like maybe you can share about the movie that you think is going to have everyone excited and say, "Hey, I gotta watch this movie."
Sure. Very quickly, I want to speak to that. I think that death, from a story writer's point of view, is a blameless circumstance that puts the protagonist in a very sympathetic light to the audience. So he was married, but his wife died. He is a victim of widowhood and needs fixing. But when you talk about divorce, it feels like the audience goes like, what's wrong with why didn't that work out? And it becomes a less blameless. So I think from a writing perspective, when you see so many deaths in Hallmark, whether it be a parent or a spouse, it's because it's a very easy trope to create a kind of spotless hero, right?
Okay.
Whereas divorce is messy and it is real. And I think, I don't know how much McLean, would want me to talk about it, but it's a very personal story to him. It's something that he recently experienced. So I think he was allowed to let art kind of wash over him, and he used art as a balm to kind of work through things that he was really feeling. And I'm sure hoping that, he can miss the boat and find, the next love of his life. But as far as the audience is concerned, and as far as what they're gonna get when they watch this show, it's so cold right now. Like we've just gotten hit with storms.
Yeah.
I'm up in Winnipeg, it's negative 20 degrees, and this movie is going to transport you to the sunniest climes that Europe can offer with Italy and Greece, and it's so beautiful. And we actually ended up shooting on a cruise ship, so we shot on a boat in the Aegean Sea. Um, it was a pretty so you're just going to see a lot of beautiful things. And we're going to take you to a lot of beautiful places. And then, like you said, it's very funny. So hopefully it's just a fun night to kind of escape and get away with.
Okay. We're going to we have to get to obviously Mystery 101. But before
Okay.
that, we play a little game, and it's a variation. It's the Hallmark
By the way,
version.
Eric, I'm only going to cut you off because I know how badly you want to talk about Mystery 101, and you've been so patient. You've been it's incredible self-control. All right, go ahead.
All
What's
right,
the
so
game?
it's the variation, but it's called Kiss, Compete, Repeat. We
Kiss,
there's obviously
compete.
the real one that is
Okay.
not Hallmark friendly. But for this one, which one of your co-stars would you want to kiss again? Who would you want to compete against in a gift wrapping competition? And who would you want to co-star in a series with?
Oh gosh.
I'm not letting you use Jill either for your series because that's too easy.
Yeah. I'm always so like when you ask me who I want to kiss again, I'm always so like, oh God, it's such a like forgive me because it's such a strange question because it's like almost like who does Kris want to kiss again?
No, no, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, like
yeah.
there.
So let's if I could kiss, I'm definitely, and she'll never do it. Like she just will never do it. But I've asked her and I'm like, babe, Would you ever? And she's like, no, nobody wants to see that. I'm like, yes. But my wife, Julianne, who was on Days of Our Lives and who is a remarkable actor herself. Um, in fact, we had a little theater company for a nanosecond where she directed me in Streetcar Named Desire. I directed her in Crimes of the Heart. Like, she's good to go. Um, I would like to kiss her on camera. I think that would be a lot of fun
I
in one
think
of
the
those.
Hallmark world would explode. It
I
would.
mean, how cool would that be to like, you know what I mean? Like, what a fun
Peter Benson
story.
got to do it with his wife.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she just won't. She's got no interest in going back to the fold. And I'm like, babe, but people would like, they'd lose their minds. And she's like, no, they wouldn't. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Um,
your fans would definitely.
repeat. What was the third one?
No,
Is repeat.
so the middle one is who do you want to compete with against in a gift wrapping competition? So who's like the person you acted against with who was just like crazy competitive?
Oh, okay. And I can't say Jill for that.
Oh, you can do that one. You just can't do the you can't do the want to be in a series with.
Okay, because I've
Just
already
do,
done that. I would
yeah.
say that Jill is the most competitive actor I've worked with on the Hallmark channel. She'll be like, wait, what did you say? What is that? Let me do that too. And I'm like, she's a lot of fun. And I think that's what why our chemistry was as electric as it was, because if you watch Mystery 101, there's this really beautiful human Easter egg between Jill and I on who had the last word in a scene. And so you'll literally watch us be like, interesting. And she'll be like, it was. And I'm like, yeah, it really is. And she's like, yeah. And then I'll be
Wait,
like,
isn't there like one of the scenes where you're walking down a hall and you actually call that one out? I'm trying to remember.
do I say, do
That
I
like it's
say
something
something
about a
about
last word, and
like
then she
last word?
says,
Yeah, I
"Yeah,
probably did.
yeah." I think there is. I
So
think that is the one.
there probably is, because it literally was like, I was like, wow, like and she'd be like, are you kidding? Like, I mean, we would just, so that was a lot of fun. So I would say Jill Wagner, and then for repeat, um, man, right off the top of my head, I would have to say Brooke Dorsey was just a lot of fun to work with, and we had this really great, easy, like you said, with Amelia and I, chemistry. Um, and she was so encouraging. Like, that was the thing about working with Brooke, where I would do something, she'd be like, "Oh my God, how did you even think to do that?" Like, she was so encouraging, and I think we would have a lot of fun working together. Or can I do an
Sure,
or should I just leave it at one?
you're the king. So
Oh gosh, or Joy. Bethany Joy Lenz, I would of course work with her.
once again, you would break the Hallmark world if you two acted together.
Yeah, I mean she is, she's a phenomenal actor, and we crushed it on that movie together. We had a lot of fun, so that would be an easy repeat. So Brooke or Joy,
But we are going to get into Mystery 101 now.
do
And
it.
for the repeat, I will say one of the things about Hallmark fans is you've been to the events and things like that, and you just know from the Hallmark world. Hallmark
Mhm.
fans are very passionate. Hallmark mystery fans are crazy passionate. Mystery 101 fans are a whole other world, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So from you, and you've had to like when you go to events and things like that, and you encounter them and all that, how has that just been like when you just look at your career and the impact you've had, and then you see that, like, does it just blow your mind at how much people love that show?
yeah. It really does. I'm still baffled by it, and so humbled and honored. Like, it's an awesome thing to be on the receiving end of that kind of enthusiasm. I thought you were going to leave it at crazy, and then you crazy passionate. I was like, because
Well,
it
I
is
have a
like,
little follow up on that.
okay, because I mean, they have the Hallmark and the Mystery 101 fans have bombarded the Hallmark headquarters with thousands of letters. Um, there is constant, and this is not a spoiler, but there is constant conversation at Hallmark with if we were going to bring this back, or how would we bring this back, and there was a moment where we were, close to bringing it back. I have, and there's a lot of reasons why you let lying dogs sleep. So, there's nothing on the table right now. But it's funny because as it ages, instead of it going away, it just seems to be getting more fervent. Like I thought that, a couple years down the road, people would forget about it and be like, all right, well, that's done. But no, instead, and maybe that's the magic of John Christian Plummer. Like maybe that cliffhanger that everybody hates was actually like the perfect little hook to just keep
It's
us all on
something,
the
that's for
line.
sure. It's
Everyone's like,
something.
ah.
But so my little follow up on that, when you say, oh, just leave it as crazy. So I two things. One, I did a April Fools on Mystery 101, and I said, oh, they're going to be doing an animated version with Tyler Hines and Kimberly Sustad. I had so many people send me the nastiest mean DMs. Like, how could you? At first, people always think I am Hallmark, but like, how could you do that? And then my other idea I had, which I still think is brilliant and is for the repeat, would be a prequel with you and Aaron Cahill, sort of who Travis was before, he went to Garrison. And I thought
Yeah,
there would be like a good story there. And no, 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 no. Travis is with nobody but Amy
Amy.
and
Yeah,
stuff. And once again, the we'll call it passionate messages that I
yeah,
got for even
yeah.
suggesting
The
such a thing.
heated,
So
yeah, yeah. The how dare you? I mean, I think that everybody is willing to come back to the fold. I think it's just a matter of the right time, the right story. Um, Hallmark was in leadership flux from the moment. It's so funny because literally that was the year that Bill Abbott got like he got fired and Mystery 101 went away. It all coincided in the same amount of time. Like when One You came in, Mystery 101 ended, Lisa Hamilton Daily, it's still, like, so now that Michelle Vickery's back, um, and who knows? I mean, you never know. You really don't ever know. I mean,
it,
everybody's still alive and well. So
it's my
knock on.
crazy prediction that, yeah, with Michelle coming back, like that's the one person I think could make it a reality. And the fact that she
Yeah.
came back is, I think that it, like, what, one in a million. So you're saying there's a chance, right?
You saying there's a chance? Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance.
So what is it that you think makes Mystery 101 so special?
I think it's a combination of the writing. I think the backbones of those scripts were very good. I think it's a combination of Jill and I. I think we had a very special kind of chemistry that's not often, found or repeatable. And then I will take a little credit in that, before we would go to camera, Jill and I would sit down with those scripts and we would just say, this doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense, or no one would say this. And we would just go through, and Jill was very sensitive. She bumped on, like, I would bump on, for example, in a script, I might bump on 10 things. When a bump is like when you're reading it, you're just like, this doesn't make sense. Like this takes me out of the story and I need this to be smoothed out or explained in a better way so that the story doesn't, so I'm never out of the story. And Jill would bump at like 55 things. And I would be like, Jill, why are you bumping here? And I would explain, and then she'd be like, oh, okay, I get that. But what was interesting about Jill was that she was so sensitive that on all the things that she started bumping on, I'd be like, well, why is she bumping? Like, why is that a bump for her? Even though I understood it, it didn't bump me, but why did it bump her? And then it would make me open up the scenes even more. And then we would start rooting around. And it's interesting. We never rewrote any scripts, but I would hit John back with copious notes, and he was amazing enough to either rewrite stuff or we would just on the day, little tiny fixes that would kind of just go through with the vernacular or added things. Um, and the fact that we were trusted to do that is a big, I think, one of the big reasons why the show worked and why it did what it did. You had You had an actor who was very aware of never stepping out of, like, I never step out of my lane. I just don't. Like, I'm not going to rewrite stuff in a way that's obnoxious and actorly, and I'm not going to try to direct something that, if I'm going to come in and do my job, but I'm also going to be quality control, and I'm going to make sure that what I'm saying makes sense for the truth of my character and for the truth of the scene and for the truth of the story. And that's what when you hire me, you're going to get somebody who's going to be very proactively protecting the story and his character. And Jill was the same way. She cared a great deal about Amy and how Amy was perceived. I cared a great deal about not being the guy who let the teacher solve all the crimes. I was like, he's not stupid. He's not an idiot. Travis has to have advocacy. He has to have agency. So I think it's the first time on the network we saw a show that balanced the sexes out a little bit. Because instead of the girl being the one who saves the day and who's the hero and the guy's kind of just there, like all of a sudden I fought for Travis's agency and so that there was equality. And it's funny because in the posters, in the very first one, you see Amy up front and Travis like in the back. And then by the last poster, we're both like, you know, we're both equally framed. And I think that was sort of what happened over the course of those seven movies is that you saw, um, yeah, you just saw special things happening. It was a really perfect time and place.
It's interesting you say that because we had Dylan Neal on, and he said in Gourmet Detective, which had five,
He
but
wrote,
the first, right, he wrote it, and the first one was more equal, like you said. And then when two came around, Hallmark's like did the count line count, and he had to pull his character in the back and push Brooke Burns' character in the front, and do exactly what you said was their the MO.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I've got an idea for Hallmark that you know, that I want to try to get going, and it would be very contradictory to their formula, and I think that the network's ready for it. I think that the
They're
audience is ready
doing
for it.
different things, so
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing different things. And I think that now is the time, but it's funny because it's like, when a ship is at sea, and I used this metaphor for a financial thing the other day, but I'll say it again here. When you're on a giant cargo ship and you're out at sea and you're moving, down your sea lane to change course, it takes a lot to stop that ship it really takes a lot. Like if you were to
ask
stop a cargo ship,
ask the
yeah,
Titanic.
yeah, well, yeah, it's exactly though. And Hallmark and that network and Countdown to Christmas and the story, the Bill Abbott's sort of like universe of how to tell stories, and I think it took a long time to subtly shift in a different direction without losing the audience and without losing the thing that people really loved about the network, which was the consistency and which was the familiarity and which was all the stuff that they'd grown to know and love and the safety of that. And so I think there's a lot of ways to,
All
it
right.
just depends on which agenda you're pushing. I mean, there's a lot of ways to bombard an audience with new stuff. Um, Mine is always in the interest of storytelling and always in the interest of human behavior and what makes a fascinating story. So
Well, what's interesting about that is the first, like, because we obviously cover a lot of mysteries, right? And
yeah.
every time we do mysteries, it's always, yeah, but it's not Mystery 101. We always will get that comment. And the first time where we haven't gotten that is with Mistletoe Murders with Sarah
Mm,
Drew's, her show. And it's also, like you're saying, it's not the Hallmark formula, right? It's still,
interesting.
sure, it's still got the bones, but it's a whole fresh take on delivering that. And I think, hopefully the success of that, from what you're saying, with your idea, that they understand people are tolerant. You still won't get all those comforts that you need, the feels that you need, but there's different ways to take us there. And we as fans appreciate
Right.
the difference. Like
Yeah.
like I was saying before, like your character being divorced and having that tender moment explaining a pretty nasty divorce story, right? If you
Yeah.
think about it, where Hallmark never would have done something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that their output is so great that they can afford to try a few new things because if it doesn't work, it disappears with the melee of the next year. I mean, it's easy to try new things. So I think it's just really a question of, again, um, art is special. Hollywood is special. As much as people want to dismiss Hollywood and the content that comes out of Hollywood, the movies, the stories that come out of, I don't even like using the word content anymore, but like the stories that come out of Hollywood, there is a process that happens, and there is a very interesting sort of baptism by fire of getting an idea from the idea stage to the filming stage to the audience. And I think there are so many smart and talented hands that it passes through, and sometimes not so smart and talented, but their notes are still very like, oh, I didn't think that, like that was a thought that I didn't even know to think. And it really does take a village, and you find out like, oh, that was supposed to be that moment in time. I'm glad it didn't happen 3 years earlier, or I'm glad it, because it's so everything is in its due time. So I never worry too much about, like I said, going back to Mystery 101, if we do a number 8, it'll be in the exact right time and place it's supposed to happen. If this idea that I have ever happens, it'll be because it was all moving towards it happening.
My favorite moment in Mystery 101 was in Dead Talk at the end with Tegan Moss when you guys are in the kitchen and you sort of know she's the bad guy, right?
Bad
And you
guy,
start
yeah.
talking and she's defending because she doesn't realize that you guys know yet. But then you just see that transformation when she realizes, like, they know.
God,
And
yeah.
it was like for me in all the episodes, it was the most powerful scene in all Mystery 101. And it was just for all three of you, a complete masterclass in acting.
Mm.
So for you though, when you look back at the whole series, what is there one moment, like scene or thing like that, that sort of stands out to you as just like this was this was it?
I mean, I think the one that had the most personal resonance was when Travis finally talks about his parents and dying. And it was actually something that I talked to John about, and I added the little toy truck, and then finding out that his parents died in a car crash because he was like making a car crash and he felt like he had somehow cosmically killed his parents. And I think the weight of a child's guilt, and then feeling forevermore, I have to fix the world. I have to protect the world if I and I thought that was a really sort of powerful scene. And um uh but there were a couple, I'm working right now to your point about Tegan and her performance. We created an atmosphere on Mystery 101 that was a lot of fun. Like, we were always laughing and there was a lot of good times. There was never any ego, like kind of, any of the negative stuff that you sometimes feel on sets. And so our guest actors would come on, and then again, they would hear Hallmark and they would think, "Oh, I'm zoning it in for this." And I got this comment a lot throughout the course of those 7 movies. Our guest actors would come on and they'd be like, "I didn't expect, like, I kind of came on thinking it was going to be this, but we've leveled it up, and it's like this is taking the best of me." And I was like, "Yeah, like that's kind of the expectation, is like show up and bring your A game, and let's make some really fantastic movies." I'm working right now with an actor named Giovanni Ribisi on American Hostage, and he's acting at such a level of excellence that you can see it bringing everybody else. Everyone wants to match what he's doing. And it's like this interesting, I don't know if the adage, all ships rise with the tide, works for actors and performance levels, but like, I think that we were definitely bringing a game. When you stepped onto that set for Mystery 101, you felt like, oh, this is, I gotta know my lines. I gotta show up. And that was the thing. Jill and I, we didn't come to set with our sides, and we were showing up ready to rock and roll.
You mentioned earlier Life Unexpected, and there was a certain actor who was also in that series. Now, did you like when you found out Robin Thomas was cast as Graham? Were you like, no freaking way, this is crazy?
So I have worked with Robin multiple times, and it is my one regret that I wasn't the one that called Penny Perry and said, "You should see Robin." She knew Robin from before I ever knew Robin, and when I found out he was cast, I was over the moon. I love that guy. He is awesome. He's got the first line in Mimics, and my father in real life has the last line in Mimics.
Really?
So, yeah, that should tell you how important he is to me. He's an amazing guy. I love him. And he brought again, when I knew that we had Robin as Amy's father, I was like, great, we've elevated. We were the only show on Hallmark to have three American actors. We were all American. They usually have Canadians,
Right.
one American. But they, again, that was like a budget thing where they were like, let's just bring in, I don't know why that happened, but that was, it wasn't cost effective for them to do so, but they brought in three of us for that.
We talked about the ending, the cliffhanger, which is such a fan favorite. Now, John was kind enough where he, after when the show was officially canceled, which that's a whole other story we won't go into, but he came on and he revealed what he had envisioned for episode 8. Now,
Right.
for you, where would you have liked to see episode? Like you had the obviously the cliffhanger. You have Travis staring at Amy and her dead fiance. So for you, what would you think episode 8
I
would
mean,
be?
I would have taken it much slower than John, and I think 8 would be, it would start 11 months ago, and we would start back in time, and I would probably do three movies, like a trilogy to get us up to the moment that we saw in number 7. So you would see this new dude show up, you'd see all the machinations, and you would see, we would show, not tell, why the Amy Travis relationship took a turn and where the miscommunications happened and how, because I think that John had some really great ideas on how to get back into that, but I think he started seeing it in terms of like, well, let me just tell one more to wrap it up versus I think we can make, 5 more of those movies and people would still be locked and loaded. I honestly thought we were going to make 20. I really did. I had this number in my head and I was like, we're going to make 20 of these. So the fact that we stalled out at 7 was a real shock to me. I mean, I was gut punched by it. I did not expect that at all.
Well, like you said, like all of a sudden a whole bunch of things just happened, right? And
Well, I mean,
that's
you
Hollywood,
know
I
that,
guess, right?
yeah, we were supposed to shoot in October or no, September, and it got pushed to October, and then it got pushed to January of like, I forget the year now. Is it 2022 maybe? Does that sound right?
Yeah, because I think
Did we make
well, I
20?
don't know when it was filmed 'cause the last one was 21. So
So let's just say that. So January of 2022. Um, and and I called Randy Pope and I was like, hey man, because I have, 3 kids I got to feed and a house I got to take care of. And I was like, are we gonna rock and roll? And like, what happened? And he's like, I think we're gonna push it again. And when he said that, I was like, we're done. And what they put in place of us was Curious Caterer. They had our crew, they had our I mean, they literally just they took our spot.
they took
Um,
John.
they took John, they took our writer, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean everybody but our producers got and the cast got swapped straight into, so they got to continue making movies, but Chris
So
McNally,
when you're on Grand Ole
he was just
Opry, were you like, Nikki, Nikki, what are you doing?
no, it wasn't her fault. No, and I'm
I
proud
know.
of her. She's a powerhouse, man. And
Yes, she is.
what a special moment to see her on the Opry stage, full circle moment with her daddy, and then the script that she got to tell the story of. That was really special to just sit and watch. That was a cool thing to be a part of.
But well,
No, but who I was mad at was Andrew Walker. I was like, you son of a bitch. I punched him right in the face right after that. No, I'm kidding. I didn't. I love Andrew. We went on a cruise together.
with like 1,600 other people. Or
Well,
are you
no, we
talking like
did
a
like
real cruise?
we did a real like we did a fan cruise. It was Andrew and I did this fan cruise that he invited
Oh,
me
right,
on
right,
before
right,
Hallmark ever had a cruise.
right.
It was his second, my first, and it was us and 300 like fans, core hardcore fans. Um, yeah, and it was one of those really cool experiences where I was like, wow. Uh, and then we did, of course, the Hallmark cruise. in its inaugural. Although no, we didn't. He went on the second one. I went on the first. So he and I have only ever been on the one cruise together. All that to say, I never punched him in the face. I like him a lot. He's awesome, and I wish him the best.
Well, let's just wrap up now and just we obviously talked a little about Mimic and stuff, but just what can they're this Saturday they'll see you in Missing the Boat, which like I say,
Right.
I think is hilarious. But what else you got going on that you can just tell everyone to look for you for?
My biggest push right now would be for mimics. There's this little guy named Fergus. There's Fergus. Oh, come here, buddy. Oh, here. You want to meet Fergus? Hi, Eric. Good to see ya.
Now,
He's a
did you have
strange
him
little
before?
guy.
Did you actually have him before, or was this like for the movie?
No, this is for the movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
know if
this
he
little
was like
guy.
sitting around the Polaha household forever, and you're like, that's a movie right there.
No, this guy was bought for the movie. Ah, he he and I made this crazy little movie, and this guy's a star. The minute he shows up on screen, he just takes this. He takes the whole thing. Like it's wild. And I do a bunch of impersonations, and so you hear me do like full range of characters, and it was my directorial debut. So it's the first time I stepped behind the lens. Aside from a short film, I did a short film years ago called A Work of Art, which was a really awesome experience, but which gave me the fuel to know that I could do mimics. But yeah, this is a fully independent film. This is true blue independent film. We are in theaters nationwide, opening Friday the 13th in February. So February, Friday the 13th for Valentine's Day. It is a spooky little love story, so I intended it to be kind of a chilling date movie. And when I say that, I mean that it's kind of like sitting around a campfire and someone's telling you a ghost story. Like it's spooky enough that you look over your shoulder to make sure, the boogeyman's not coming, but it's not gory. It's not violent. It's not disgusting in the way that a lot of horror films are today, where you know what I mean. So if you're opposed to those kinds of movies, Mimics is not that. And there's actually a really beautiful little message inside about, what are you willing to die for? And who or what? But I'm very, very proud of it. And we'll see what happens. I've learned a lot about movies and the movie business and what it takes to get movies in theaters and what it takes to get audiences into those theaters once the movies are in. Like you got to get the people in. So if you are watching this, then I highly recommend. I'll go further. If you're watching this, then this is that cosmic moment where you were meant to go see Mimics. You got to get online right now, go to Fandango, buy
I
a
will
ticket.
edit this out and I'll make that its own little clip.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, highlight of my I'm really grateful to have sat here and talked with you, Eric, because I now know that you're a movie buff and that you are smartly watching your entertainment and you're looking for things that are
Wait, does
not.
that mean like before that you're like thinking, oh, the
Well, no, I
schmo, I
just
got to
didn't.
talk to him,
No, I didn't know sort of how deep you got. I mean, I've only seen
uh,
the stuff on Instagram
which is
and
actually quite silly. So,
yeah, and it tends to be the bait for like, hey, come and see the show and watch. But you're actually an avid. You're like a highly intelligent movie watcher, and you're looking for stuff that a lot of people like. You're looking for the stuff that I'm deliberately putting into things to say someone's going to be watching for this. Let's throw in an Easter egg here. Let's do this. So, having said that, I'm very curious as to what your thoughts on Mimics is going to be because I
all
made
right.
it for cinephiles, and I think it might to be really to be really blunt, I think it might be my best work. Like I'm interested to see what people think of it.
Now, do you think you have because you produced too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So do you think it's like gave you the bug where you want to produce more and direct more? Or you're like,
100%.
holy smokes, I did it like a marathon, right? I ran, I'm done.
No, 100%. This is not the last you've seen of
Okay,
producer Polaha, director Polaha. There's more to come.
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Kris, like I say, it took a little bit of time, but I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate all the time you gave us today. Some great stories there. And hopefully next time we'll get to talk again a little sooner
Yeah,
after
Eric, thank you.
episode 8 comes out.
after episode 8, and I want to hear Mimic's thoughts. So, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for all the kind words, man. I heard them all, and I accept them, and I appreciate them. So, thank you.
They're very genuine. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.